Good afternoon to you. It's the Joel and Natalie Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here. And every couple months, we want to get caught up with finances, and we bring back in Ben Reiter. He's a certified financial planner for Kingdom Financial Group, a practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. And again, this is educational and...
have some fun.
Yeah, if you have a real question, ask your own attorney or financial advisor.
Yeah,
but we are having some fun. Welcome back. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you. You having a good end of the summer?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we're spending time watching my grandson play flag football and, just all the things, right?
Did you say you're going to the Seawolves game here in a couple days?
Yeah, we're going tomorrow night. Yep.
It's the time of year I normally get a little depressed. It's the end of baseball season, so,
yes. Who's your team again?
I'm an Oakland Athletics fan. Born in Northern California. We moved to Ohio when I was 10, and
you were a fan with the Billy Bean era, right?
Oh, that was my teenage
had the run.
Years. Yeah,
that was 20 games in a row.
Yeah. I remember first '89. So the A's beat the Giants in the World Series, 4-game sweep, and it's one of my earliest memories was the earthquake during the World Series. Actually, my mom made us get up and get underneath the table, but all of my uncles were Giants fans, and the A's swept them. So naturally, I'm an A's fan, and so Friday night I had fun. I took my two sons, 12 and 10 now. We went down to the Pirates game. Because the A's were in town. So we got to go down to PNC, and it was fireworks night, and the A's won, and then the Pirates shut them out for the next 2 days. So I'm glad we didn't go those 2 nights.
Right, exactly right. Wow, wow.
Yeah, it's a fun weekend.
Well,
so end of summer.
Speaking of being shut out, let's start with housing, because one of the things that has been, and I'm sure you've encountered this with your conversations with your clients, is that young people trying to get into that first home, there was nothing for them to buy. Interest rates were 7% or higher, and there's just nothing on the market. Then all of a sudden, I looked up, and I'm seeing for sale signs all over my neighborhood. In one walk, I bet you I could identify 7 to 10 for sale signs in my little neighborhood.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I think we'll see if we're coming to a new market cycle a little bit. It's been very fascinating the last, I think 4 or 5 years, really since COVID. In my mind, I saw a lot of, we saw the Erie market, just like many markets around the country, for the last 15 years. We all heard about certain areas of the country where you could barely buy a house, stuff like North Carolina and other hot places, California, different areas at different times in specific areas where houses are sold in a day and 2 days. Well, it seemed like 4 or 5 years ago that all of a sudden came to Erie real quick too.
Yeah, sure did.
It was everywhere in the country. I think a little bit of that was honestly some of the economic stimulus that happened when you had young families with 2, 3, 4 kids that would get a check from the government in 1 year for $20,000. Well, all of a sudden that was a down payment for the house, and so they may have been thinking about over the next 2, 3 years, maybe we'll move into a second home or something, where all of a sudden it sped the market up where everybody's got cash. And there's a whole bunch of other things too, not just that, but that's a good example of it. Sped the market up, and then all of a sudden there's this demand. It shifts the whole market to this thing where people are buying houses online without ever walking in them in 1 to 2 days. Yeah. I could tell this story, even though it's a personal thing. My little sister is thinking about moving right now, and they're in Virginia thinking about moving to Ohio, and they literally just put an offer on a house online, saw it, and then smartly they went there to go see it.
Right.
Beautiful little piece of property.
And some, it got to be, some of these homes are no inspection, like no contingencies, right?
Take it or leave
Cash.
it. So my sister went to go see this house with her husband and 2 little kids, and they drove all the way to Ohio, and they went there. The house listing was for, maybe I shouldn't tell this story, but there was 2 bathrooms in the listing, and they went down in the basement, and the second bathroom was a toilet on the floor, not hooked up. There was a pond on the property that before the person had been selling it, they had taken the wall out. All the pictures online, beautiful little house, little pond next to it. That pond was gone. It was a swamp. So the market really sped up, and as a financial advisor, the thing you get afraid of is that people are making those quick decisions, and one of the biggest financial decisions they're going to have in their lifetime. So real estate historically has been a natural economic study, kind of an interesting thing that it goes through shifts also. And that is one thought literally to last week of when the Fed did lower interest rates is that they're looking at things like job reports and new home sales, the amount of new construction that's on the market. And in the Fed's opinion, one of the reasons they lowered rates was they're trying to slowly stay ahead of that, is that they're seeing unemployment maybe start to tick up a little bit, or new jobs in particular starting to slow down a little bit. Home sales of seeing whether they could encourage that to keep going, because in the big picture thing of people moving is good economic stimulus for the economy as a whole.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to watch over the next year whether that starts to speed up again. I think you could see an increase in those for sale signs because people are looking at it and going, wait, the last 4 years, houses have almost in certain areas doubled in price in the last 10 for sure. But they're looking at it now going, oh, interest rates are starting to come down. It's getting a little bit more favorable. Maybe we've been saving for a little while, that we've got this equity in the house. Maybe we can make a move now.
Do you think that maybe sellers not are panicking, but they're saying, oh, interest rates are coming down, and maybe the realtors are finally convinced the sellers, okay, let's get the thing on the market.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to a realtor recently, and they said, well, there's still a wide dispersion. It's just kind of funny. You've got high-end stuff that maybe sits there for a little while, but then that's also going quick.
Yeah.
You see low stuff going up for sale, but you don't see a lot of the in-between real estate too. And so that's all market shifts, which is just very fascinating to watch.
Let me ask you about another part of the credit market, and that is use of credit cards for basics. Have you encountered, and maybe they're not seeing financial planners, but maybe they are, because when you're desperate, you use your credit card to make the month work. And I keep on hearing about that credit card balances are increasing, and they have been, because inflation is just not under control yet. Have you seen any of that?
I've seen a little bit of it. I think compared to the late 90s, I think the education on credit cards really ticked up because a lot of people went through that. We've talked about it on the show before, how, late 90s, early 2000s, the big thing, even for the government, was the amount of consumer debt that people were carrying in the average household. And that seems to have shifted in the last 15 years towards student loans now.
Right.
Now everybody talks about the amount of student loans people are carrying for years and years and years. And I think part of that was good education and people's experiences of people being stuck in that and then possibly teaching the next generation. But because we live in a world where credit cards exist, there's always going to get people that there's always people that kind of get sucked into it. You're right. What I do on a day-to-day basis of meeting with individuals, I don't run into as many people with huge balances, but I would tell you the people who are carrying a lot of credit cards, it's not really an income thing. There are people who make lots of money and still run into problems with credit cards. There's people that make no money and have problems with credit cards.
It's more behavioral than you think?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you could have a six-figure line of credit over all your credit cards and have them pretty stacked up.
Carrying those balances because you're kind of behind that. You haven't changed your financial habits yet to just climb out of it. And people waste so much money doing that, in the long run. But they don't think about it too, because it's not paper. It's not there. It's out there, right?
Some of these credit card balances, as far as interest rates, they're up to 30%. It's insane.
Yeah. Right. It's ridiculous to use it. Now, I think the education side is that I do think for security purposes, and you still have to be smart about it. Didn't I just hear a news thing I think on the station earlier today about an investigation going on with credit card skimmers in town. Yeah, that's always kind of scary. Makes you nervous. Go, was I at that store?
Right.
And they won't say what store it was yet.
They can't skim cash, can they?
No,
Wow.
right. So the education side of using a card for your monthly expenses or going to the gas station, it's probably safer to use a card if you're paying it off every month. And so a financial advisor's world, that is something that still needs to be talked about and educate people on the proper usage of it, because it's horrible if you're actually paying interest to those companies.
I found out about some kind of an app. I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically almost like a layaway and you could use it for major purchases or like DoorDash.
Yeah.
And I've got, I've got a thing about delivery services, and again, those are great jobs for people that want that.
Yep.
But I tell you what, the amount of fees that get added on to that, to that $12 meal that if you went to the store to get would be $12, you're paying $18 to $20 with the DoorDash and with the Uber Eats, right?
I guess I could talk about it. I don't think I'm not hurting any feelings, but I got a credit from a company for one, and it was like a $40 credit for a thing, and
just to get you hooked
on it.
I
had to spend it within a day or two or something because I did this meeting, and it was a $40 credit, and I got one large pizza delivered to the house. One from a chain, right? Something like you're saying, if I went there, it would have been 15, but it wasn't my money.
Right.
But again, it's a trap of convenience, of course, and that's the way we all fall into things with money. Go up and down the spectrum from simple to complicated stuff, whether it's investing or whether the stuff is that you can waste a lot of money on convenience or ease, right? They're trying to make it easy for you to spend a lot of money. And if you're just using a card or you're just using an app, a lot of times we'll do that. It's the whole Amazon principle.
Yeah.
We all do. All those boxes, just go down any neighborhood and all the boxes being delivered. Why is there so many? We're buying stuff because it's easy, right? And finances aren't supposed to be easy all the time. In fact, the way if you take a little bit more time, you're going to be a lot more successful with money and thinking through things, not making the quick decisions. I make that point about the houses, right? It's the same conversation. Too many people are buying it too fast and not thinking about it or making a plan for, hey, what type of house do we want? Where are we trying to move? What can we afford? We want to do it quick, and every time you do something quick, whether it's buying a house or ordering dinner or making investments, if you do it too quick, that's where mistakes get made or money gets wasted, right? Money is a slow down thing. Wow. We're talking about big generic stuff today.
Big stuff. We're talking to Ben Reiter. He's a certified financial planner with Kingdom Financial Group. Let's talk about the markets. They hit new highs again last week.
Yeah.
What are you hearing? Because stuff still costs a lot of money. What's the sentiment in the market right now?
Yeah, well, stuff, that's fun. That's big economic stuff, too, is that if you think about prices going up and companies make more money, is natural inflation and we're spending more money and people are making more money because wages have been creeping up a little bit. And so people are spending more money, which drives, in the long run, that bleeds through the whole system and it drives the market up. So one of my biggest pet peeves is when it comes to investments is in times like this, we all get locked into when the market sets all-time highs. Everybody goes, oh, it's at all-time highs. Should I buy or something? That's what gives us a little kick in the butt to make a decision, right? Oh, the market's at all-time highs. And I go, well, for the last 100 years, the normal day is for the market to set an all-time high.
Yeah.
It's a growth thing. And so really, if we're going to say all-time highs, we're going, hey, the market's doing what it's supposed to be doing. When it's behind the all-time highs, that's the worrying times, actually.
Well, isn't that when you see a correction or profit taking, that's when you want to buy in the dip. If it goes down 10%,
right.
That's a buying opportunity, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. As you look for those sort of things. So, if I had to talk about it real big, broad, what I have been talking about is that right now, here we are nearing the end of September, and if you just look at the calendar months that have happened, a lot of this, to me, seems like a stereotypical growth year. Historically, in the very best years in the market, when the market's going up, we usually have 1 or 2 bad months in the market. Where everybody kind of goes, ooh, what's going on?
April was horrible.
March and April.
Yes.
That's my point. Actually, we had, so far this year, we've had 2 bad months, which is a really normal year if you look at it that way. Is that you go, well, wait, there's always something that makes the market pull back during the middle of the year at some point. Right now, it looks like March, April. We'll see what happens for the rest of September and then the next 3 months. But so far, it's been a fairly typical year. I am doing a little bit of reading this past week and looking at a couple things, and just by the nature of your question, I kind of am halfway happy with where we're at, because I think there's still for the average person, like the retail investor, there's a little bit of caution still baked in. People are still wondering about it. And usually that's a good, healthy time in the market. When everybody is super excited and everybody's buying, that's where I get nervous.
Yeah. You tend to have a contrarian point of view.
But when the average, friend or acquaintance comes up to me and goes, wow, everything's great right now, I go, uh-oh, wait, who told you?
I'm all in on pork bellies.
Right. Yes, exactly. So there's a little bit of that healthy downside to it right now that people are still wondering. I think that's nature of where we're at with the markets and kind of history of the last 15 years, that people are very aware that we have, things that happen in the world or events that can drive the market down, and you should have an eye towards that. I like saying, it's one of the things I've said for the last 10 years. It's about the only thing I can guarantee about investing. There's only one thing I can guarantee. All the commercials, everything at the end says, there are no guarantees about future results. I go, okay, but there's one thing I can guarantee. We will have another bad year at some point. That's what I can guarantee. We will have a down period.
And to be fair, 2023 was not great, if I remember correctly.
No, you're thinking 22.
22,
really. Yeah, 22
okay.
is isn't that funny?
That was the down year,
already
wasn't it?
3 years ago.
Wow.
The end of 21, all the way from about November to October of 22. That's when all the inflation stuff really hit the news, and that's when the Fed was raising rates. And so we're still... Today, I would argue that's what we're benefiting from, was they were raising rates then, and now we're in a slowly lowering rate environment.
Okay.
Kind of funny how the Federal Reserve has, the last 3-4 years, every time they said they were going to do something, they've done it.
Yeah.
Right now, this year, they back in January, they were saying we may at some point, maybe, sort of, we're not sure how much, lower rates twice. That's what they were.
And now they're talking about 2 more after this one.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But they always use those terms, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
September was the first one, and we'll see by the end of the year when and maybe they will do it again. But the fact that they're doing it slowly, I'm in the camp that goes, that's a good thing, actually. I'm not in a camp that says historically we lower rates really fast when something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something bad's happening.
Let me get your opinion, and I've only got a couple minutes left with Ben Reiter. I want to ask you about this concept of AI and how it seems like many of the large players are helping each other out. NVIDIA investing in Intel. They're
Right.
2 competitors, yet
Right.
NVIDIA needs Intel to survive and thrive because there's so much work to be had. What are your thoughts on AI in general? And again, you can't talk about individual stuff.
Oh, yeah, sure. But so the AI stuff right now is what everybody's kind of excited about, because it's theoretically going to change some industries. It's going to change how a lot of different places do business. And to me, most of that upside that people are excited about is efficiency, So you've got the big boys, you got the big companies that are kind of creating this new product, and they're creating a product that's going to sell to other companies. And then those smaller companies, which is what we're theoretically seeing now, is that the rest of the market this year, besides the big companies, actually the rest of the market going all the way down to the Russell 2000 or so is that you're seeing other areas start to benefit from it as well and do better. In the long run, even though, I'm for probably, in certain industries, deregulation and things of not government intervention, is that historically we have to look at those sort of things and go, I'm a big fan. I'm going to use a bad word because I'm a big fan of the game of Monopoly. You always, any of us should be afraid of giant corporations that all of a sudden you've got the two biggest corporations in the world saying, we're going to do this together. Part of my antennas go up too in the grand scheme of things. But it is a whole industry shift that there's other things that, this is going to affect over the next 10, 15 years. To me, it just screams a lot like the internet in the late 90s. So you got this new tool, this new thing that's going to change how we do things. At least that's what the AI people are claiming right now.
President Obama thinks it's more like when electricity was discovered, like when electricity became functional.
Everybody talks like that. I be careful about that too, because that's people getting excited about it too.
Right.
People selling it basically and saying, "Hey,
when he came to Erie on Tuesday, he was saying we got to have a conversation about AI."
Yeah,
and we do.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. People in my industry are talking about it, of course, in financial services. The comforting thing to me is that we're already talking a little bit about it as a country, of what do we actually do? What do we produce? And it's tied to so many different things, whether it's a skills gap. Like if you're worried about it, you have to think of, well, what value do I provide? Which personally, philosophically, I think that's a good question we should all be asking about. What are we actually doing? Some robot can't take my job if I have a skill and if I can provide value to people, if I'm making something or if I have an ability to do something. That's a very healthy conversation. If it can enhance certain industries, if it can enhance what you're doing, then you can utilize a tool like that. And that's where the people that are excited about AI say this is a great thing. There are other areas people are going, this is scary.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, because you're not secure in what you do, theoretically. In the financial services world, that's what people like me go, well, I'm not afraid of it per se, because there's always today, really ever since the internet, there is low-cost options for people for doing investing or getting advice. You can go Google it, right? But for somebody like us that actually works with individuals, we say, well, sure, you can trust the computer if you want to. Or do you want to sit down and actually figure this out with a real human being who cares about you and wants the success for you, for us as well, right? And so there's always going to be a place for that where people do need to step in and actually create a financial plan or look at your holdings and have a discussion with you instead of a screen, and most people get there. And there's my sales job of the day of talking about
phone
financial
number,
advising.
814-836-5234.
We're right down here on 6th Street, near where they're moving all these houses. Exactly. And there's all these crowds of people today.
Ben Reiter, certified financial planner for Kingdom Financial Group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joel.
More next on Talk Erie.